Okay, we're going to go to our sixth fellowship team, and this is a partnership between Arizona State University and Mesa Municipal Court. And so we are going to be hearing Alesha or Paul. It looks like Alesha. So Alesha, do you want to introduce the project?
My name is Alesha Durfee. I'm an associate professor of women and gender studies at Arizona State University. The practitioner partner who is unfortunately not able to join us on the call is the court administrator for the Mesa Municipal Court. This is a continuation of a researcher-practitioner partnership grant that was given by the National Institute of Justice 2016 to 2018 that focused on domestic violence protection orders. Could you move it to the next slide, please? So Mesa Municipal Court began a community court in July of 2018, and it was really wonderful that we started doing some preliminary research, so I was able to do a series of 20 interviews with different people in the community about what their hopes and goals were for a community court. Now, community courts are holistic problem-solving courts with chronic low-level offending. So what you have, we traditionally have had isolated problem-solving courts. So you can think of DUI courts, you can think of drug courts, but they focus on a singular problem, and community courts are an attempt to treat all the problems. Essentially in Mesa, they have some individuals who literally have over 100 arrests for things like public camping, urination in public, really things that are more to do with social problems than they are particularly what we would think of as crimes. What we've found, though, is prior research indicates that community court defendants are at a higher risk of victimization in the community. So what we're trying to do is estimate the victimization rate among community court defendants to see if they would qualify for victim services. And although the services may initially appear very similar to those they would access as defendants, obviously they would have a higher priority if they were victims in the case, and also they would qualify for different types of services. Could you please move to the next slide? So there are a number of research questions that motivate this project. First of all, we do want to estimate the criminal victimization rate. We're asking them about a number of different types of victimizations that have historically been shown to be very common in this population, but we're also asking about sexual and domestic violence. And we're finding, just anecdotally right now, pretty high rates of experiencing both sexual and domestic violence while these individuals' cases are moving through the community courts. So what types of services would they qualify for, and then looking at gender, race, and other demographic characteristics and seeing if they're associated with the need for victim services, especially for women. We know from other research that men and women have very different pathways to offending. Feminist pathways theory posits that much of women's offending is tied into their own victimization. So if we can treat those kind of concerns, therefore they wouldn't be involved in the criminal justice system. We also want to document what victim services are provided to defendants in community courts, the best practices, and one of the goals is to come up with a training for court staff so that they can understand the trauma that many of these individuals are working through, and identifying perceived barriers. So, for example, many victim services have been moved to police departments and prosecutors' offices in order to save money, so away from nonprofits. And if you're continually a defendant in court cases, you're unlikely to want to go to a prosecutor's office or a police advocate in order to gain victim services. We also want to develop some sort of screen for victimization, so these two things could be treated simultaneously without requiring them to report their victimizations to police, and also thinking about victimization and trauma associated with community court outcomes. So the goal of community court is for them to access services and achieve stability, whatever that might look like in their situation. Very common things that they need to do is they need to find some kind of identification. Their driver's licenses have often been stolen, sometimes their birth certificates. So community court staff work with them to obtain identification so that they can apply for different benefits. They also hope to achieve placing people in housing many of these crimes are associated with being homeless, and then trying to get them connected into other types of services, and if so, they complete community court. And so we want to know who completes community court and who decides to go to a traditional court and just plead out their case to get it over with. So currently with the project, what we've done, we really dramatically underestimated the interest of the defendants in participating in this kind of project. So initially we had proposed doing 20 surveys, and I did 20 surveys in the first week. Right now we've done over 50 surveys, and we've only been collecting data since the beginning of April. We've also observed over 200 individual hearings, and I've conducted 3 interviews with defendants. Some of the strengths of data collection, one, there is a lot of women that are in community court, and a lot of women seem to be particularly interested in doing the survey and doing interviews, and they're making connections in the community. So one of the wonderful things that's happening is I seem to have established credibility with some of the defendants, and they're referring and telling people about the study. And we've also found we expected to have a significant number of Hispanics in the study, and what we're finding is we're actually having Native Americans are really interested in participating in a survey. So we may be able to do some really fascinating analyses with how Native Americans are becoming involved in the criminal justice system and how links to tribal resources. So some of the interviews, all 3 interviews have been with Native American individuals, and they talk about being able to qualify for benefits through their tribe, but some of the barriers that they face because they're not on tribal land. Thank you very much.